Hello, and welcome back to Toledo Aquaponics. Currently this is day 14, and I just want to kind of do a quick update. I did end up pulling all my beds apart, including this middle one. I ended up refitting all of my beds yesterday, basically just pulling them all apart, just putting out different grates, as well as, I don't know if you'll be able to see it at all, I really don't think you will. I put a 4-inch drain cap upside down at the bottom of the beds and in between the bulkhead fitting. So there's a bulkhead fitting, the drain cap, and then the rubber gasket, and then obviously the screw part of the bulkhead fittings on the other side of these grow beds to kind of give a support that this can then go into, because the grow stone itself actually floats a little bit. Right now with the beds full, I don't think they're going to float anymore, but there still was some little shifting. There's no shifting anymore, but there was shifting, and unfortunately these would move and I'd get stone ends in them. The other thing is the previous drains that I used used 7/16 inch holes, and some of my smaller stones would get in, so the newer ones are cut with a saw. This gives me a nice, much more stable system, as well as a much better draining system. The other thing I did is I swapped out a bunch of these valves here. They are Mueller, M-U-E-L-L-A-R brand. They're called PVC stop valves. If you're looking for them, these are 3/4 inch. I bought 4 of them about a year ago. I was only able to find 3 of them, so I actually looked online and found a company online on eBay that actually is selling them. So I ordered a couple more, just so I have them. These are much easier to time. When I put this system back together, and I had to redo all my timings, because I also ended up making a few changes to my flow also, I was able to time the system within about 15 minutes. Right now my water level is staying completely where I want it to be. It's perfectly level. It doesn't fluctuate. So as to some of those changes, I had to move to a 3/4 inch pipe. I actually planned on doing that eventually, because the Active Aqua 550 GPH pump that I use, the maximum flow on it is a 3/4 inch pipe. I figured I'd eventually move to that. However, one of the things I bought is this. This is way oversized for my system, but this is a UV sterilizer. And unfortunately, the smallest size that comes on this little stair step they have is 3/4 inch. I was looking online, some places said half, some places said 3/4. I wasn't sure, so I started the system with 1/2 inch pipe, but I also had 3/4 inch pipe on hand. Unfortunately, it does this weird little kink thing, but it really isn't going to affect my flow rate too much right now, so I'm not too much of an issue. So basically it goes from the pump through a UV sterilizer, which has this nice little port here. I don't know if you can kind of see that blue glow in there. That's how you can just kind of check to see if it's working, as well as this lets you check for any solids, kind of like a skimmer on a pool pump. And then from there, it flows back up into my system. So pretty much I didn't change how the flow works at all. I just basically changed the actual size and diameter. So before I was using these little 1/2 inch pipes, and now I'm using this big 3/4 inch pipe for scale. My water is also cloudy because I did some water changes as I was working on the grow beds yesterday and ripping these completely apart. I unfortunately had to douse the system with phosphoric acid to bring it down, because my pH was still too high, and I did 4 ounces of 85% phosphoric acid and dropped my pH down to about 6.1 to 6.2. So I had to buff it back up with calcium carbonate and potassium carbonate. I used pretty much equal parts of that, so my water went a little bit of cloudy, as that actually precipitates out of my system. Right now that's really not going to cause any problems for me, especially seeing I don't have any fish. The fish aren't going to mind it. The cloudiness will go away within about a day or two. The other thing I did, as you can see, is I did grow lights. So I have 2 Unit Farm UFO80. These are honestly probably the grow lights I'm going to end up with. These are 170 watt LED grow lights. They have both a vegetative, which is what they're currently in now, which is a blue, a more violet bluish spectrum. So it's kind of more like your daylight. And then I also have my T8 array, which I lowered to the proper level, as well as I have a little T5 array. I actually have one more T5 I'm going to put on there, but I need another support before I can put it over there. So I'm going to kind of compare some high output T5s, which are very dim, my really big T8 array, which is probably the cheapest out of all these lights actually, And then I have my LEDs. These LEDs are, like I said, what I'm going to probably end up with, and the biggest reason for that is the effective grow area of these is 2 foot by 3 foot, which happens to exactly be the size of my grow beds. The other thing is these also have a floral spectrum, so if I flip it over, there's that pink light I've been talking about. Nice red, pinkish light. I can flip that off. One of the things I kind of like about these is in their vegetative switch, which is actually, these are up here. There's a vegetative and a floral. The vegetative also has white, so instead of getting just strictly the violets and blues like some of the grow lights does, this one actually has a little bit of white in there, so it makes it easy for plant identification and to be able to look for like nutrient deficiencies. The other thing is I have all 3 of my grow beds are currently planted. As well as, like I said, I topped off with grow stone, so the grow stone level is pretty much maxed out on all my beds. So unfortunately to plant some of these smaller guys, like I said, these are probably sacrificial. I had to dig down a little bit to get to the water to be able to plant them. I have my other guys over here in starters. They're still chugging along pretty well. As well as I have some Gordon A-OK grow plugs that I'm going to actually be starting some plants in. That is actually going to be my preferred method for this system, is to start them in the A-OK plugs and then transport the plugs into this system, because the plugs are very good at wicking. So I can put them just above my water level in here, which is only about 1 inch or 2 down from the top of my stone, and then cover them up, and that wicking will help make sure that even the smallest plants get all the water they need, but also encourage them to grow down into the beds and get a really nice healthy root system. So that's going to be probably my plan for that. Right now I just kind of have some little seedlings just kind of planted in here. So this one here is all mostly lettuce. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actually. Lettuce plants, and then looks like 3 kale plants in this one. I then have another 3 lettuce plants here, where you kind of see I dug down, and I'm kind of going for that. And that's another thing that kind of, I have my lighting video, I still haven't put it out yet. I haven't really quite decided on the format of my channel and how often I'll put the Let's Talk Aquaponics videos out. I was thinking weekly, but I had decided, if you look, this has got more of that little yellowish tone of light, versus these have a much more blue light. And that's probably the best example I can do of, here's my more 6500K growing lights versus the actual pure violet lights. But even then, once I get in my actual like vegetative lights, and I swap out some of these bulbs, this light here, even though it's slightly yellow, it's still more white bluish. This is going to be really, really blue compared to when I put in my vegetative lights. So I'm going to probably get myself another one of these T8 arrays, which I just got from Home Depot, which is a 6 light array, and I'm going to buy another set of T8 bulbs, and I'm just going to do strict like 2700 or 3000 Kelvin lights, whatever I can find. These are all 6500 Kelvin lights. So that's just kind of an update of my current system. Like I said, I pulled all my grow beds apart, which may have done some damage to my bacterial colonies. My nitrites actually still have an uptick. I'm currently sitting about 0.25 nitrites, and my nitrates seem to have picked up a little bit, probably a little bit closer to the 40 range from the 20 range, which is part of the reason I put plants in here, to kind of eat away at some of that. But I am starting to see nitrites, so hopefully pretty soon here I'll be ready for fish. I'm gonna probably just go straight to tilapia. I was kind of thinking about whether or not I wanted to do like feeder fish or goldfish first, to kind of like help get the system cycled, but I think I'm going to go straight to tilapia, specifically blue tilapia, just because they're a little bit more cold water tolerant. I will eventually most likely be adding in another tank, which is another reason I added the UV clarifier. I'm going to be probably adding another fish tank, probably for like koi or some sort of ornamental fish, and kind of go from there. But so far that's kind of like just a quick design update.